Hi, in this one we're going to be talking about string functions. So when we talk about string functions, first we need to know what is a function. Now as you see on your screen, a function is simply a group of lines of code that perform a particular task. Usually anything with an opening curved bracket and a closing curved bracket, or parentheses as we call them in Python, is a function. For example, the print function and the input function that you've been working with for a while now in this course. The print function displays any kind of data that you pass in it, and the input function helps you store any kind of user input into variables. Now, moving ahead, let's take a look at what are string functions. So, as you see on your screen, string functions allow you to work with and modify strings according to the needs of your program. So, basically, a string function is going to help you work with strings the way you wouldn't be able to just manually. These are lines of code that have been pre-written to help you efficiently modify strings and work with strings in your program. Now let's talk about some important string functions that we'll be learning and we'll be working with through this section. The first one being repeating strings. So this is not exactly a string function, but it is just a way to repeat a string. A lot of times in your programs you'd want to repeat a certain string many times, and that's a method or a way that we're going to be learning. The next is the len, or the length function. This helps you find the number of characters in a string. It helps you find how many characters does a string have, or how long a string is. After that, we come on to the upper and the lower function. So the upper function helps you convert a lowercase string to an uppercase string, and the lower function helps you convert an uppercase string to a lowercase string. Next, the swap case. So the swap case, or the swap case, however you wish to call it, converts the lowercase part of a string to uppercase, and the uppercase part of the string to lowercase. Next, the strip function. So the strip function basically allows you to remove leading and trailing spaces from your string. So for example, let's say you have a string that has a lot of spaces before um, any kind of alphabet or number starts in the string and after the string ends. It just removes the spaces from both the ends of your string. Next, the count function. So the count function allows you to basically count the number of occurrences of a certain substring or a certain alphabet in your string. So for example, you have a sentence in a string and you want to count the number of times the letter S occurs in the string for any reason that your program needs it, you would use the count function. Next, we have the find function, which allows you to find some kind of an alphabet or a character or some kind of a word in the string. So what this does is it gives you the starting index of that word or substring that you want to look at into your string. So in this case, what happens is, let's say you have again a sentence as your string, and the sentence for some reason has the word Python in it. So you want to know at which string index does the word Python start, and the find function does exactly that for you. The format function helps you structure your strings in a certain way. So let's say you have a string which says your bill at your restaurant name is the bill amount. So what the function allows you to do is it allows you to put different values in the place of restaurant name and a different value for your bill amount while letting you use the same string. This might be a little complicated to understand right now, but when we go on to PyCharm and actually code it, it's going to be super simple, so don't worry. Next, we've got the process of string concatenation. Now, concatenation is a pretty big word and might sound complicated, but trust me, it just means joining strings. So concatenation means joining, and string concatenation means taking multiple strings and simply joining them together. So these are some very important string functions that we're going to be learning right now in this one. And this is a very fundamental lesson on working with strings. So be here with me and let's move on to PyCharm so that we can actually get our hands dirty with some string functions. All right. So now that you've opened up PyCharm, just create a new project, call it string functions so that you have all of your learning in one place and it's categorized, and let's just go on with it. So what I've done here is I've created a bunch of strings, right? We've got a bunch of strings here, named string 1, string 2, string 3, first name, last name, string 4, 5, 6, and 7. And each of these strings serve a different purpose for all the different tasks in this exercise. Now, let's go on to task 1 and learn how to repeat strings. So task 1 says repeat string 1 100 times. So in this case, what we can do is simply type print. And to repeat a string, there's two ways you could do it. The first way is the one that I'm going to show you, and the second way is by looping the string or looping the print statement. But that is something we'll be learning later on in this course, because there's a lot of other things that you can do with looping. So don't worry about it. Let's just learn the simpler and actually the faster way to repeat strings. So in this case, you want to repeat string 1. So simply, let's just start with printing string 1 first. So string 1 inside the print statement. And then we click on run. Once that happens, we can see that string 1, that is hello world, prints in our output tab. Now, let's move ahead and repeat string 1 100 times. So to do this, what I'm going to do is I'm going to multiply string 1 with the asterisk symbol or the star symbol. So string 1 times 100 would help us print string 1 100 times. And you see how that works out. Now, if we just want all of these hello worlds to be separated by a space, what we could do is simply go ahead and add like a space in string 1 and then run it. And that way we've got all the words separated. So this was pretty simple. In this way, you could actually repeat as many strings as you want. And yeah, that's pretty much it. Let's go on to task 2. So task 2 says that we need to find the number of characters in string 2 using the len function. So as we spoke about the len function, it helps us find the number of characters in a string, and that's exactly what we're going to be doing right now. So I'm just going to comment task 1 out, and then I'll print the length of, so len of string 2. So we've got string 2 right here. I'll just type out string 2 inside the len function, which is inside the print function. And then I click on run, and it tells me that string 2 has exactly 69 characters. So just to clarify something, the length function always starts counting a string from the index 1. So the p here would be at index 1, and then it would count from 1 to 69 right here. And don't think that since p is at position 0, this should be at position 68. That is correct when you're slicing strings, but when you're thinking about the len function, just know that this is 1 and it counts just normally through each and every character, and it gives you the output 69. For that matter, if I just print the len of the string first name, that is John, so that is 1, 2, 3, and 4 characters. So I'll just write first name right here, and I run it. It gives me the value 4, which is the length of the string John, or the length of the string first name. So I'm just going to comment that out as well so that we can move on to our next task. Now the next task asks us to convert string 4 to uppercase using the upper function. So string 4 is literally uppercase written in lowercase. So let's just change that to uppercase, or change the case to uppercase, or make all characters of string 4 uppercase, right? So to do that, I'm simply going to write print, and inside the print function, I'm going to write string 4, which is the name of the variable in which the string is stored. Then I'm going to use the dot operator, which helps us bind this string object or this string variable to a certain string function. So I'm just going to write string4 dot upper, and that's it, with the parentheses. Always remember, we need the parentheses because these are functions. So once that's done, I just click on the run button, and string4 prints as an uppercase string while it's actually stored as a lowercase string. Now, this was pretty simple, and you could actually do this with any string. For that matter, let's just try doing that with string2. So if I just write print string2 dot upper, just like that, and I run it, I get string2 as an uppercase string, and that's pretty simple, right? And these string functions really make your life so much more easy as a programmer. So I'm just going to comment those out as well because I don't want those outputs for the next task, just like that. Now, let's talk about task 4, which says convert string 5 to lowercase using the lower function. So that's pretty simple. You could actually try it out while I try it out. So that's string 5 to lowercase. So here we've got lowercase written in uppercase, and we just want to convert that into lowercase. So in that case, we'll simply write print string 5 dot lower, and don't forget the parentheses, and click on the run button. Once you do that, you see that all the characters that are in uppercase get converted into lowercase characters, and you get a lowercase string. Similarly, if I just print string 2 dot lower, I get all the characters of string 2 in lowercase, while we've got this p in uppercase, so that gets converted into lowercase. So let's just comment that out and move on to task number 5. So task number 5 says convert string 6 to uppercase, convert string 6 to uppercase and lowercase. So in this case, you can see that string 6 has two words, uppercase and lowercase, and the uppercase is actually written in lowercase and the lowercase is actually written in uppercase. So to do this, we use the swap case or the swap case function. So I'm just going to print string 6 dot swapcase, swap case, and when I run that, it changes the uppercase to uppercase and the lowercase to lowercase. Pretty simple, right? Just for fun, let's just print out string 2 dot swap case and run that, and now you can see that the only uppercase character, that was p, gets converted to lowercase, and all the other lowercase characters get converted to uppercase. It's pretty simple, right? And actually pretty cool. Now let's move on to the next one, which is task 6. So task 6 says that remove the leading and trailing spaces in string 7 using the strip function. So first let's take a look at string 7. What I'm going to do is just copy this string and paste this variable right here. So yeah, we've got string 7 equals all these spaces, then John Doe, and then all of these spaces. So these are leading spaces and these are trailing spaces. What we want to do is we actually want to remove these spaces using a string function. So I'm simply going to write print, and let me write string 7, and before this I'll just write not removed, just to show that this print statement has not removed the leading and trailing spaces. And then I'm simply going to write print string 7 dot strip. Yeah. So now what's going to happen is the first print statement is going to attach this not remove string with string 7. So it's just going to join it together. And the next string is simply going to strip string 7 off of these leading and trailing spaces and print it so that we know the difference between the two print statements. So when I click on run, you can see that, oops, I made a small spelling mistake here. Let's just correct that, run it. Yeah, so it says not removed, and here we can see that John Doe has all of these spaces, but in the next one, it's just here. Let's just say I remove this whole not removed string, I simply print string 7 here and then strip string 7 off of its leading and trailing spaces and then run it, you can see the difference. We have these leading and trailing spaces right here, while in the next one where we've used the strip function, we don't have any leading or trailing spaces. I can't even select them with my mouse cursor. So that's the part of the strip function in strings. Let's comment that and move on to the next one. So the next task asks us to count the number of s's in string 2. So we've got string 2 right here. I'm just going to copy it for reference and paste it here so that we can easily look at the string. Yeah, so what we want to do here is we want to count the number of s's here. Let's count the number of s's in the string manually first. So we've got an s here, so that's 1. Then we've got 2, 3, 4, and that's it. So we should get a value 4 whenever we execute this function. So what I'm going to do is simply print string 2 dot count, and then I want to count the number of s's, right? And since the s is a part of this string, I need to pass it as a string to the count function, right? So now when I click on run, it says 4 because there are 4 s's, right? So that seems pretty simple, makes your life so much more easy. Let's comment that out and move on to our second last task, which is task 8. Sorry, third last task, because we've got 10 tasks. So yep, task 8 right here asks you to find the starting index of the word super in string 2. All right, we'll still need string 2, so I'm simply going to copy this, paste it here, uncomment it, and yeah, let's take a look at where does the word super start in string 2. Now, the point of this function that we're just going to be using, the find function, is that you can actually find the starting index of this word super right here in a string without actually having to manually count where does this s start. Because as of now, from the string slicing lessons, if we wanted to know at which index this word super starts, we'd have to start counting from 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, and so on until we reach this s. And that is really just too much work and a lot of, it's just a waste of time. So you don't really want to do that as a programmer. You want to do things as fast as possible. So in this case, what you're going to do is simply write print the string variable, which in this case is string 2, dot find. And what do you want to find here? You want to find the word super. And just like the count function, we pass super as a string to this function because it is a part of the string, and the find function only takes strings in it. So we just want to pass super as a string wherein it's placed or typed within double or single quotes. Now when I run this, it says that super starts at position 49. So it means that this s is at position 49. So let's just test our theory and also practice some of our string slicing skills here. So if I just print out string 2 from position 49, so that's 49, 50, 51, 52, 53, and then 54 because we want all the characters till position 53. So from 49 to 53, and if I click on run, it gives me soup, right? So I think I just missed out on one count. We need 49 to 54, and we click on run and we get the word super. So that means that the find function actually helps you find a certain string or the index at which a certain substring starts in your given main string. Let's move on to task 9. Now task 9 says that you just need to use the format function to format these variables or these values into a string. So how do we do this? Let's create a new string. Let's call it s, and in this case let's create a new sentence of our own. So we could create my name is something, that's John Doe, and my age is again something, which is 20 right here, and I am from whatever, this country is, right? It's the United States of America. So how do you actually put these values here without typing them out? To do this, you simply remove the space and put these curly braces in place of whatever you want to add there or attach there or put into the structure of your string, right? So these curly braces help you structure your string. So in this case, I want the string to look like my name is the name and my age is the age. So here I'll put these curly braces again, and I am from the country. So right here, and then I'll also put a full stop just because it's a sentence. Now, to use the format function, I'm simply going to write print s dot format, and then inside the format function, first I have this brace to fill, right? So that is my name is something, which would be name. It's the name variable. So I'm just going to write name, comma, and my age is the age. So that would be age, a comma, and then I am from the next one, which is country. So country, and that's it. So if I click on run, it says my name is John Doe and my age is 20 and I'm from the United States of America. How does this help us? So whenever you write programs, the value of your variables are bound to change. Now let's say that your program is being used by some other person named Angela, right? So there's a girl named Angela and her name stored inside the name variable now. Let's say her age is 25 and her country is the UK. So in this case, if I click on run, it simply changes the value of those variables and places it in the string. So that is the power of the format function, and it is super useful. In fact, we'll be using the format function more often than you'd expect. Finally, for task 10 of this exercise, let's talk about joining strings together. So one way that we saw wherein we could join strings was to be able to print and then write some kind of a string 1 in double quotes, comma, some kind of a string 2 again in double quotes, and if I click on run, it simply joins those strings. But in this case, what we want to do is we want to concatenate these strings, and to concatenate these strings, we actually use this thing called the addition symbol, which you guys must be familiar with, and you guys must be using that since your childhood. So what we do is we print, and in this case, for this task, it says join strings first name and last name and print the result as John Doe. So let's take a look at our strings here. We've got first name and last name as two variables, so I'm just going to copy them so that it's easier for us to look at their value and actually observe those values. And then I'm going to type print first name plus last name. Yeah. And when I click on run, it just gives me John Doe just like that. It's pretty simple, but this is still not the right answer. It's not quite accurate because if you see, the expected answer here has a space between John and Doe. So how do we add that? It's pretty simple. You simply add a space here, right? So within double quotes, you add a space and then again a plus. So what's happening is you're taking the value that is stored inside first name, joining it with the space, and then you're taking this whole value and joining it with the last name or the value that's stored in the last name. And when I click on run, we get John Doe, which is the expected string. So I hope this exercise served you well and you've learned a lot about these string functions. There's still a lot of ways in which you could actually use these functions, and we'll be exploring all of those in the projects that we do in the course. So just hang tight and practice all of these functions on strings that you make by yourself. You can find this code file for all of these variables for your practice in the course resources, so don't worry. Just download it from there and go on with your practice. At the same time, if you have any additional questions, just put it down in the comments and we'll answer them ASAP. Until then, just have fun and I'll see you in the next one.